Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to another edition of DIY Money.
DIY Money.
So let us bring you behind the scenes of DIY Money. If you are watching this on YouTube right now, you are watching the very first video episode that we have done. Now, we have done video episodes before on YouTube, and we've had different iterations. We've hired people. They've all been great, but it's just not something that we ever felt was worth pursuing, I guess.
One way to put it.
The value, the time, the energy, etc. But behold, technology is such that we can now push a few buttons and take the audio that you're hearing, if you're driving in a car or you're on a elliptical or whatever, listening to us, or you are watching a video, you can go to YouTube and you can watch us in real time. And we're going to try to figure out how to actually get it on Spotify as well, so that when you're listening, you can be seeing it. All of these amazing things. And Allie loves being on video.
I'm so excited to be on the video.
She's so excited to be on the video. Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. Sometimes when we jump on Zoom calls with people who have reached out, who found the podcast, all the things, they're shocked when they see what we look like. And I know we have maybe some pictures up on the website.
Why are they
I think
shocked?
For some people,
like
because you're bald, Quint, and they don't see it coming.
Today's day and age, first of all, I think you just totally made that up because...
That you're bald?
No, that anybody's shocked. I've never jumped on a Zoom. People Google us. They jump on face. They might be shocked when they meet you, but I've never had anybody. They always say, I feel like I know you more than blah, blah, blah.
Well, they say that, but it's more of it's weird to see your face moving.
Are you speaking in context you, as in you or me personally? Because none of this is true.
What's the difference?
None of this is true for me personally.
Okay, for me, they're shocked.
Okay. So that's the thing. So now you can go on and see what A. Howard looks like.
And you
should
shocked.
know what I look like. I've talked about being bald for I've been bald for 20 years, so this is not something new. I'm certain when people close their eyes, not that they're closing their eyes, don't close your eyes while you're driving, and picture me, they're not picture flowing locks. Although I did have flowing locks in high school.
I've never seen a picture of you with hair.
I will show you.
And you say that every time.
It's dynamite.
And I still have not seen it.
It is dynamite.
I'm going to text Brandy and get a picture of you with hair.
Let's do housekeeping. First of all, and now I mean it, check us out on the web, DIYmoney.org, because you'll see the videos, and, hit us up on the YouTube channel, DIY Money Podcast, or the socials, where we're going to also figure out how to clip these into all sorts of things. So it's going to be cool. I mean, we're really excited about this and where the podcast is going. The podcast doesn't work unless we get questions from you. So please keep sending those questions. Jump on your phone, audio file to podcast@DIYmoney.org. That's podcast@DIYmoney.org. What other things am I missing?
I have more of a comment, if I could.
Oh, boy.
What if we have people send in video questions?
Yep. To you?
No.
Okay.
To Ian.
To Ian.
Podcast@DIYmoney.org.
I mean, if they want to send it, but what is that? Are we going to then insert it into the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You're not very excited about this.
Well, because it took us however many years, 900 episodes to get video.
But now we're doing it!
Now we're inserting video? Holy cow. All right, let's take a quick break for our wonderful sponsors. That's going to be funny because we break for sponsors, but the video doesn't break because
so
there's
on
not
YouTube,
the same.
Are you going to do that every time?
I might do what I just did, and
Okay.
you'll have to go to video to see what I just did. So there you go. All right, let's get rid of the nonsense. This is going to be fun. We're like a kid with new toy, right?
That's
it's
true.
like, oh, this is bright and shiny and fun. All right, we got a great question today from Melanie. What do you got?
Hi, DIY Money. This is Melanie from Idaho. Thank you for all you do. I've learned so much from your podcast. My husband and I are in our early 50s, and we are trying to plan for our retirement. My question is, how important is it to have long-term care insurance in our retirement plan? Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to approach this a couple of ways, and then Allie, I'd like you to talk about how we approach this from a planning perspective. Maybe you were already going to do that.
100%.
But I want to answer the question, but then I think it'd be important to go through the planning process that we do for folks. So, Melanie, this is the one and only thing, not one and only. This is the one thing that no one knows for certain whether it will come into play or not. So, for example, we know inflation will be there. And when you're planning for retirement, you have to plan for inflation. We know that different expenses have different rates of inflation. So medical is higher than, general, food and services and so on and so forth. You know that you're going to get older. You actually can approximate, I know you don't know the actual, but you can approximate your life expectancy. And again, if something happens earlier, that's probably better for a plan, ironically, meaning the longer you live, the harder it is to keep the plan working. You know for a fact there's going to be market volatility. You know for a fact that what an allocation can do, at least looking back over 100 years. So all of these things you know. What you do not know is whether you're going to get ill and need some sort of care, whether you're going to be subjected to your home and need somebody to come in to take care of you. So that is very difficult, and if not planned for in some form or fashion, will derail any plan. And candidly, even though Allie will talk about how we handle this in a client perspective, if you need to go into memory care and you're there for 15 years, at $10,000 a month, I'm just using round numbers, but I've seen it that high, you're talking, any plan is probably going to blow up unless you have millions of dollars set aside for this. My point is this: it's very, very difficult to know exactly how to plan for this. Now, if you have a history, I am not a doctor, and we don't even sell insurance, by the way. So I had a life and health insurance license 20-some years ago. I gave it up because I felt that I had a conflict of interest, and I wanted to just refer people to outside insurance providers and let them shop for it themselves, which is what I would encourage you to do. So I don't sell insurance. We're not obviously in the medical profession. But if you have a history in your family of this sort of thing happening where, my mother had dementia, my grandmother had dementia, or we're prone to, heart issues and strokes. And again, you look back and there was somebody that you knew that was close to you that genetically maybe gives you a propensity for this to happen. It's higher on your radar. You may have a family friend. You may have experienced this yourself and go, I don't want $5,000 to $7,000 to $10,000 a month to be on my family's income statement on the expense line item. I need to plan for this now. So again, often it can be a personal decision and how important it is for you. You might be out there. I know a lot of families are like this. Like, I got 5 kids. They're all local. They're all married. Somebody's coming in and taking care of me. That's the thing, right? And you may say, well, they may not be able to do round-the-clock care, but they can bring a nurse in for every, shift or something like that. Okay, so there's a variety of ways to hit this. Now, in full disclosure, and this is important, my wife and I have long-term care insurance. Now, we bought it in the last couple of years, and we bought what is called a hybrid policy. Now, let me take you briefly through a little bit of history of long-term care insurance. When I started in the business 25 years ago, long-term care insurance, for the most part, was relatively affordable. There were a lot of companies involved in it. You could get quotes from a variety of different companies. It had things like insurance riders, meaning it went up for the cost of insurance every year. It had things like lifetime benefits. You name it. A couple of things happened. One, for whatever reason, these insurance companies completely missed the mathematics behind this and didn't understand that the cost of this care was going to escalate so far beyond their estimates that the second thing that happened, it put many of these companies in jeopardy of literal liquidity issues, and many of these companies either went out of business or stopped selling long-term care insurance altogether. We went through this period at that moment. This was like in the, early 2000s, where all of us, let's call it 2010 or so, where all of a sudden there were very few companies doing it. The premiums were outrageous, and it was almost like priced out for everyone. Now we're at a point in time where different types of models have been created. Once again, capitalists solved the problem. So different types of insurance or models have solved the problem that give you a lot more flexibility. So if you're interested in it, if you desire, if it's a concern of you, you have some genetic history, yet whatever it is, I would encourage you to search around, start getting quotes from independent agents that can quote a lot of different long-term care providers. And I would also encourage you to look at policies that are hybrid to the point where if you don't use it and you die, there's a life insurance benefit for your heirs. If you make a single premium insurance payment, which is what my wife and I did, we basically bought it all up front. If I ever decided, let's say I'm diagnosed with a terminal illness and forget going into a facility, I'm going to be passing away in a few months, I call up that care provider and say, listen, send me my premium back. I won't get 100% of it back, but I get like 85 or 90% of it back. So I take a haircut, but I can get that premium back. I can get that amount back. I have a significant amount of long-term care insurance coverage if I decide to use that lasts a very long time and goes against a large pool of money. Now, it was expensive. But for me, what I wanted is I wanted one more box checked in the sort of what could happen category. And because of our unique situation with a special needs son, I'm more interested in my other children making sure they care for him rather than mom and dad who need care. So I made sure, okay, that box is checked. If we have to go into a facility, it's going to be covered. If we have to get in-home care, et cetera, it's going to be covered. So it's going to be covered. So shop it, look around, but it really is an individual preference. What say you, A. Howard?
This one is really difficult because I think you asked how we plan for this in a professional setting, and it really depends on the person and what their health history is like, what their estate is looking like, what their goals are. So like every question, I feel like I'll
but
start
we have
by
a
saying
default.
It kind of depends.
We have a default.
Yes.
And you try to build it in.
Yep.
It sometimes blows a plan up. But what is the default and what do you try to build in?
Yeah. So that's where I'm going next. So by a starting basis, we try to build in 2 years of expenses. Obviously, you alluded to this earlier. If you have in-home care assistance, someone coming in to do that kind of thing, it might be $6,000 a month. If you go into a nursing home facility, it might be closer to $10,000. So it's really difficult to nail down, but we want to have something. So we do about $7,000 a month throughout the entirety of the plan, adjusting for inflation, healthcare inflation, 6%, and we factor in 2 years for each person, unless they tell us otherwise. Well, why do we do that?
So real quick, let me interject, just because people get lost in that. You factor in a cumulative amount, which is off the top of your head right now.
About $150,000 per person.
Okay, so about $150,000 in present value.
That's right.
So that is going to go up every year by approximately 6%. And what we're doing is we're saying, okay, in the last 2 years of your life, we need to make sure we have this pool of money here and we assess it against their overall balances, right? Whether it's 401ks, investments, or what have you.
That's right. Because one of the things that we don't factor in, that some people choose to, is if they have a home that's paid off or working on paying it off, the equity in their home. So a lot of people, as they think about long-term care, is they kind of shrug it off and they think, well, if I need it, I have the house, right? But the reality is, I think by the time you get to that point, the last thing you want to do is take out a HELOC or refinance or whatever it might be, or sell the house, whatever it might be in your scenario, to pay for those expenses. So our thought process is, okay, that's a conversation we have with every client at some point. It maybe is not the most pressing conversation at 50, so maybe we don't start with that. And to your point, Quint, we go ahead and build in some buffer so that we don't get to that age 85 and now you need long-term care and we're scratching our heads thinking, well, we were planning to deplete your account by then. So it gives that nice buffer. And then over time, we'll tweak and adjust it. So if we start to think, okay, they don't have like assisted living as an option, we might look into, or if you have a memory diagnosis, maybe we start to factor in memory care. Or at some point they might say, we don't care about leaving the house for the next generation. That is our long-term care, which is perfectly feasible. To your point, I think the most important portion of this is thinking ahead of time about this, which is one of the reasons why when we talk about the rule of 4%, this doesn't factor into the rule of 4%, right? Because the rule of 4% is, for the most part, you're not tapping your principal, and a lot of times that principal value is not necessarily going to cover everything that could happen in that scenario while leaving an inheritance. The key is, if you're thinking about this in your 50s, you might be able to go out and quote an insurance policy. In our case, we don't start with insurance. Not to say it's never a useful tool, certainly something we look at quotes for, but in a lot of cases, by the time people go to start those policies, they're going to pay more in premiums than the benefit. So it's kind of a moving target, but if you're looking at your overall financial plan, I think just having something in there is a better starting point than most people have.
I agree. So just to summarize, Allie and crew set aside a certain amount, sort of longer term, and it's not allocated, it's not moved into separate accounts. Like, okay, this could be there, and how does that impact your plan? So if you're working with spreadsheets or whatever it might be, I think knowing, hey, when we are getting ready to die, there needs to be something in case we need long-term care. The two final things I'll say before we end this podcast is be very careful about thinking about, like, you know, getting ahead of Medicare or Medicaid. When you're talking about spending money in long-term care facilities and like who picks up the bill, it's Medicaid. And by now you probably understand the spend down provisions of what Medicaid makes you spend down to, both in income and asset level, before they step in. And when I started in the business 25 years ago, there were strategies I could do with people and say, here's how we're going to protect your assets if you ever have to go into a facility. There are still strategies. There's Medicaid trusts, there's gifting, there's accelerated gifting, et cetera. But be very careful with that, because what Medicaid and the government did, which was really smart, was hire smart people to change the rules and really go after the folks that are trying to do that. So be very, very careful. If you need to consult an elder attorney, do that. The second thing I would say, and again, we'll end here, have a discussion with your family. What is the plan if mom or dad, and this is assuming you have kids. If you don't have kids, then it's just a discussion maybe with your advisor, you, your spouse, or whatever. But the discussion with the kid is as follows. If mom or dad need care, what is the plan? And if they look at you like they're dead in the face and they're like, I don't know, I'd call Uncle Joe and help. And you're like, okay, Uncle Joe's not going to help bathe me. So, you know, then you're going to say, okay, it's kind of in my court. Again, you know, I'm banking on some daughter-in-law married to a son who is going to care for her wonderful father-in-law when I need care.
Or one of your sons.
No, definitely the daughter-in-law. My sons, I don't want anywhere near me, especially if I have memory issues. But anyways, you get the gist, right? Joking aside, obviously a sensitive subject. It's nice to take it with a little levity. But joking aside, have that conversation with your family. Very, very important to have. Great question. Deserved, you know, all the 20 minutes we gave it. So we thank you so much for that question. We'll send you a $25 Amazon gift card. Remember, friends, the secret to wealth is pretty simple. Live on less than you make, invest the rest, and do so for a very long time. Make it a great one.